the server and stuff like that, instead of using the web UI, which is something that we'd like to do, because you don't want to be working in the web UI. It's a bit slow, right? Just having to click, create new file, make, edit, click, click, click. Too much clicking. Typing's faster. So, but we'll be working locally, and there's a couple of ways to do that, right? For people who are interested, we can do it in terminal, so typing commands, right? But by default, people can fall back to GitHub Desktop, which is an application you installed, which will make things a bit easier. People on Linux have installed, hopefully, an alternative. There's multiple. It's Linux. But if you want to do it in terminal, raise your hand. Who wants to do it in terminal? I've got 2 terminals over there. 3, 4. Okay, because I'll be patrolling around, making sure you guys are with us. Okay. But it's actually an exercise. Here's the exercise. Go crazy, and you will be, and we'll help out, okay? But I'll be there for the terminal folks. And Jan also, he's also a terminal king, right? But I'll hand it over to Jan. I have problems shutting up sometimes. There you go.
Which leaves me with about nothing to say. So yes, the plan here with this exercise is that you will be creating your own repository. You will clone it onto your local machine, and then you will actually create a website, probably a very simple website, that you will publish live on GitHub for absolutely free, which is lovely. And then you can work on that, and if you want, you can collaborate with each other using the stuff that you've learned. But for now, if you go to this address, so servicesgithub.com/ondemand/GitHub Desktop, GitHub actually have a very nice exercise there with multiple steps that explain how to do this with GitHub Desktop. Most of that exercise, also makes sense if you're not using GitHub Desktop. So if you're on Linux or want to try your hand right now with the terminal git commands, then feel free to use those as well.
There's nothing that GitHub Desktop can do that terminal can't.
Yes.
Maybe the pull requests? Well, we'll figure it out.
So because GitHub Desktop is a tool that is made by GitHub, then it actually understands the concept of GitHub's pull requests, so that you now have a local GUI client that can create pull requests, and that is something that native Git cannot do, because as I told you earlier, pull requests are not a Git standard thing. So
it's a workflow. It's not actually something that the tool does.
No. But we can show you how to do that, because there's nothing stopping you from taking the local branch that you have and pushing it onto GitHub and then creating the pull request in the web interface. Or you can merge things locally, and we can have a look at that. So for now, the plan is that you can go to this exercise and just work your way slowly through that. Please, by all means, raise your hand, and we will try and come and help you as much as possible. If you are progressing really fast and know exactly what you're doing, and somebody is raising their hand, and Thierry and I are busy, then go help each other. It's also a great way of collaborating and learning.
All right, so just go wild, right?
Yes.
I want everyone to have a website, or at least every team or every group have a website up and running. Do we have a deadline? No, deadlines are arbitrary, right? Nobody cares about deadlines. Give me an estimate when, just go wild. All right, any of the terminal people need a kickstart, or do you already know what you're doing? Do you want a kickstart? Do you need a kickstart? Okay. So I'll do some talking about the terminal, just for the terminal folks, right? So let me just get a little cloth here. I'm going to use the whiteboard. All right, so the commands are pretty simple. You want to go to GitHub and create your repository on github.com, actually. Who's that? So, and then you have, whoop. Can you recognize what that is? That's GitHub's Octocat, or at least my attempt at. So this is your GitHub repo. If you want to get your repo locally using a command line, it's get a different color for this. Where is my? Do we have any different colors?
Yes.
Had to pose there. It's git clone, and then the link that you can find from GitHub. I'll take blue, because orange isn't very visible on white. So, git clone. That's readable, right? Git clone, and then the URL. You can find that if you go on github.com, you make a repository, there's a big green button that says clone or download. If you click that, you'll get a little menu that pops up, and there you'll see your URL that you have to add for git clone. There is an SSH one. If you haven't set up your keys, just take HTTPS for now. There is a way that you can set it up so you don't have to authenticate all the time. We can go into that later if you want. And then you have it, let's see, git clone, then you have it on your local computer. All right. Actually use the Git logo here. Why not? There you go. Then you have it locally. Then to make a branch, it's, let's see. After you make an issue, you make a branch that is git branch. If you want to follow the workflow, you usually want to make an issue before you start working, right? You want to tell your people what you are going to do and what you are proposing, right? So you have git branch. Name. And then you can do git check out. Is this readable from back there? All right, git check out.
There's actually a tutorial online along with the GitHub desktop version. There's also a
terminal version
GitHub
of it?
CLI version that you can run through if you want instead.
Okay, so I'm just drawing this for fun?
Yes.
I'll keep going because I actually like this. Also gives me something to do. So this will create your branch. Git checkout will check out your branch. All right. So if you do work while you have a branch checked out, all the changes will be applied to that branch. Right. So then you can do some work. Work. After you've done some work, after checking out your branch, you want to add the files that you've changed. That's the staging area. Jan? Can you explain the staging area while I write this out?
No.
Okay.
I'll get back to it in a moment.
Yeah, we'll get back to them. So, basically, by adding files with the command line, you say, and you'll also be doing this in GitHub Desktop, is these are the files I want to commit. Right? So you take your files, like you add sheep.md to your repository, or you add index.html to your repository. Git isn't tracking that file yet. Or it is, but it's not. You've changed it, but you want to say, Git, these are the changes I want to commit. Then you add it to your staging area by calling git add. And when you do a commit, it will commit everything that's in your staging area. Because you don't always want to commit everything that you've changed. Make sense? All right. And then you do git commit. This will open up your editor. You can type a commit message. If you close that, it will make a commit.
And because you're really lucky, it will probably open the default editor, which is VI.
Oh yeah.
Then you can have fun just seeing if you can figure out how to get out of VI again.
If you're not used, like the default editor for Git Bash is VI, and I'm not even going to stop you from going in there. I just want to see how you try to get out. It's funny, right? I used to get stuck in VI all the time as a kid, but it's not escape, and it's also not Control-C. Good luck. All right. I'm going to need some more space. For everyone using terminal, there's a little more to multiplayer Git, as in pushing to server, than just pushing, right? You also, every now and then, you also want to, like if you change a branch, or you check out a branch, you make a commit, you push it to server, you open up a pull request, your commits end up on master. But your master is different than GitHub's master, because you have the repository locally, which is on your master, and then on GitHub, you merged into pull request, and master has moved on. Right? There's extra commits on master. But your master never went through that merge request, right? Or never went through that pull request. So you want to pull in your master to update it. So what you want to do is, then, I suppose I need my orange one if I want to be consistent and stick with my arrows. So another way is we're going to make sure that we have master checked out. So git check out master git pull. And that is what you do when you already have it checked out, or have the repo cloned. All right? And I can go into wonderful detail about what pull actually does. And who is interested in that? You are. And I only need one person to go on a rant. So if you have your remote repository on GitHub, let's call it your remote. Origin is the name of your remote. Git pull does two things. It does a git fetch, and what that does is update your local repository with the knowledge or the status of your remote. So now, if you do a git fetch, it will go to GitHub. Okay, tell me, my master on Origin, where is it at? Because it moved a couple of commits, right? So then you will get that information locally, yes? And then it will also do a merge. It will merge in the remote's master, the commit that the state that your remote master is in. It will merge that with your master, right? And essentially, in this case, it will only update your master. And that's it. That's what a pull does. So now you updated your master to what it is on Origin. There's a few implications when it comes to merging, but then we delve into the different kinds of merges. And we can take that offline, right, if you're really interested.
Is when people have created the index.html file with Notepad on Windows, because Notepad is so lovely and friendly that it thinks everything has to be a text file. So it actually calls the file index html.txt, but Windows is also so friendly that it hides this extension so you don't notice. And then you think that you have, created a lovely HTML file and uploaded it to GitHub, and then your website isn't showing. And that's because the GitHub web server expects an HTML file, and it just has a text file and says, I don't know what to do with that. And the fix to that, of course, is to rename the file, which you can either do in the web UI or you can do it locally. If you want to do it locally, then you probably want to set your Windows to actually show the file extension so that you can see the full file name. So that is sort of a little twisty corner of Windows that I didn't really see coming. The other thing that I've seen a couple of times is in the instructions they suggest that you create a repository called your username.github.io as that specific repository name. And that is because GitHub they invented this GitHub Pages feature, which is a way giving you an easy way to create a nice website online to document your projects. And they're doing this at two levels. So either you have your repository at the global level. So this is the one that is specifically called your username.github.io. Or if you have an organization, then organization name.github.io. And it assumes that the only reason for this project to exist is to serve as a website. Thus it will, by default, just serve the master branch as a website. If you have any other repositories, so a repository called blah blah or random or hello world, then by default GitHub assumes that this is just a repository that you have created to put some code in, and it is not necessarily serving this as a website. Originally, when GitHub launched this feature, they provided the option that you could have in any repository with some code, you could have a separate branch called GH Pages, and that would be served as a website, so you could have your documentation separate from your actual project code. These days they actually let you choose, so if you go to your repository in the settings, which is the rightmost tab in the web UI, and then scroll down below all the wiki stuff, there's a little box with GitHub Pages. I can actually show that. Let's see if I go to so if I go to this repository here and I go to my settings, and then I can scroll down. I can probably make this bigger. So here is the GitHub Pages section, and down here it is by default set to none. So I want to actually tell it that I want my master branch interpreted and treated as a website. And then when I say save and scroll down the page again, because it will jump to the top, then it will actually give you a nice link here to the page. And then you can open that, and then this is actually a slideshow, but that's for later. So if you actually created a repository that's called your username.github.io, then this will work automatically out of the box. If you created a repository with a different name, then you have to go to settings and set this feature here to master branch. So I hope that gets a few of you unstuck. Any other questions that are worth taking in public? No volunteers?
Any that aren't? No? Okay, I know.
So we can either walk through some of this. I can actually do a look at the reveal repository here and walk through that slowly, or we can have a slightly deeper look at using Git from the shell or terminal. I'm happy either way, so it depends on where are most of you, and should we try to just walk through this and see how it works? I think I will actually. What was it? Or was it pragma GitHub IO /. So I just switched to a guest user so that I have something that is a bit more like your environment. So we want to go to this this repository on GitHub. So this is actually the public repository that contains this presentation that Lars showed you earlier today. Right now I'm logged in as a user called temp Krag. So this user is not a member of the Pragma organization, so I don't actually have write access to this. I'm in the exact same boat that you would be in. So the thing that the way GitHub and most open source projects work is that you create your own copy of a project, and we call that a fork. And it might be confusing, the difference in terminology between clone and fork. So clone is the word we use when you take a repository and make a local copy of that repository. You could argue that it's the same thing that you're doing online here for historical reasons, mostly. We call this a fork because it was usually used when people on some open source project started disagreeing about the direction it should take. Then a person would just take a whole copy of this project, call it something else, and then work in a different direction. And this was called fork.
The wonders of open source.
The wonders
Don't like
of open
it,
source.
take it, change it, it's yours.
Now we more strongly believe in actually sharing things with each other. We still call it a fork, but the idea is that if I create a fork of this repository, then I can make my changes and then propose them back to the original project. So when I click in the top right corner here, there's a button called fork. And then I already did this yesterday. So then it will create a copy. We can see now it has a librarian. It has a librarian project in my username, and it says here that it's actually forked from Pragma Librarian, so we can see where this project originally came from. Which also means that GitHub remembers this link and allows me to contribute back, and we can get to that later. But in reality, I now have my totally personal copy of this project, and I can do with it whatever I want, assuming that the license actually allows me to do that. And I can actually go look at the license file here, and it says this is an MIT license, which pretty much the short version allows me to do anything. So the thing I want to do here is I can actually want to edit the site now. Let's see if it works first. So if I go to settings in my repository, and then I can scroll down, as I showed you before, to the GitHub Pages section, and say I want the master branch published as a website, and then I say click Save. And then if we scroll down again, it will actually show me the link here to username github.io/librarian. And if I open that in a new tab, and then, so the index page is just a link to this one slideshow, which is called librarian as coder. And if I open that, then that works fine. If I go back to the GitHub page and I go to code, then we can see here is the librarian as coder is the subfolder that actually contains this presentation. So if we open that, we can see it just contains an index.html page and a markdown file. Reveal.js that we're using here is a JavaScript framework for creating these nice presentations. By default, it expects the presentation to be a HTML file in a certain format. It also allows you to actually do the content of each slide in Markdown. And then there's a little extension that allows you to take the whole slideshow into an external Markdown file. So if we look at the index file here, then this is just
a bag of tricks.
A bag of tricks, yes. And this is actually the section that sort of tells it how to interpret the Markdown, and we can mostly ignore the rest of this.
You can just copy and paste it, right?
If we open the Markdown file, then GitHub is actually trying to render this as a nice website, which is not going so well because this is this internal.
It's trying to render it like it does READMEs.
Yes.
But it's, I mean, we play around with it a bit more than just that. So if you view the raw file.
Sorry, so every file here has a button called raw, which shows okay, this is very small.
The file as if it were just regular text.
So this is how how the actual file looks without GitHub trying to render it as something nice. So we can see here that every slide starts with a section with a
The new slides are vertical and the new sections are horizontal. Well, that's how he configured it.
So a new slide is a new slide, and a new section is a new section, and this is where Reveal does something a bit different than you're used to from PowerPoint or Keynote or PowerPoints and just about every slideshow tool you've probably used since forever only has a one-dimensional. A slideshow is a list of slides. If I actually look at this Reveal thing, then Reveal has a feature where I can press Escape and then I get an overview, and then you can see that.
You can actually navigate inside the overview. Yeah.
Then I can see that it has, it's a two-dimensional layout. So we have vertical sections of slides, and I can use this as much or as little as I want to. And that also means that if you look here at the bottom, it's a bit, not very visible on the screen. There's a
little navigation
right, left, and up and down arrows. So if I, press down, then I go down. And if I go right, then I go to the next section, and then I can go down as well. So this is why Reveal has this terminology of sections and slides, and can be useful for organizing. And it's just a bit different, and gives a little. So some people use this to just have their slideshow, in one dimension as always, and then have supplementary material. So if somebody asks a question about this slide, then then I have 10 slides below where I can really go into detail with this topic. So that's one way to use it, or with examples of some concept that I'm introducing. So I will just go back to my repository. If instead of pressing the raw button, I actually press the pencil, then I can edit the file. And then we can say here, software is going to
devour.
Rule libraries, yes, in the future. And we don't want this, let's get rid of this link because we don't want that. Should work, I guess. So this is a change that I made, and of course I want to create a commit message.
Edited opening slide or something.
Change
like that.
title. And right now I'm just going to be lazy and just commit to the master branch, even though I taught you otherwise. And if we go back to the presentation here and reload it, and then, come on, where is it?
Hey.
Then we've actually changed our presentation online. And this presentation, you can all go to this,
Clone it, fork it.
to this link if you wanted to, and you can see my change being published there.
Libraries are going to rule software.
Well,
I mean, they already do, because reusable chunks of code, we call them libraries. So, and we all rely on libraries in software, so you already are. Don't worry about it.
So, but of course, feel free to fork this and create your own version. So, but we probably want to do this, not cheating as I just did. So if we actually go to, why don't I have issues? Oh, I don't have issues because they're not enabled. Yes. So this is a little
Gotcha.
twist of fate. In all the repositories you created this morning, you had this tab with issues where you can plan your work and discuss, new features to implement.
Collaborate.
In this case, where are my issues? They're not there. And that is because when I fork this repository from somewhere else, the basic assumption, because this, in this collaboration mindset, is that I fork this because I want to contribute to the original project, which is on pragma/librarian. So we assume that the original project has the issues describing what work needs to be done. So I don't want a separate issue tracker on my project, because mine, in many cases, I might just fork this, work on something for a couple of weeks, and then delete it again when I've contributed it to the original project. So I probably don't want to have my own issues here. If I want, I can go to settings and
Enable issues.
Here you can see here, this is the issues, so I can actually enable issues here as well, if I wanted to. But I think we'll leave that out for now. So if I wanted to work on this locally, I go to the clone or download button. Should we do it in the desktop? let's do it the other way. So
All right.
so if I copy here, there's a nice little button here that's copy to clipboard, so I don't actually have to mark everything, and so I can copy this.
For the people that haven't done terminal, let's have some fun, shall we?
Let's see. This is going to be
Unreadable.
I know this is unreadable, so but that can be changed. So git clone and the repository name are the link that I just copied. Where am I? Just a moment. I just want to make sure I'm in a useful folder.
Yeah, I should do. It's just your home directory.
Let's create a GitHub folder. And then we say git clone this repository name. And then for doing this, Git does not need any sort of authentication or credentials because the project is publicly available. Anybody can clone it without having any more access. But I will need some username password when I want to put things back again, because I don't want everybody in the world to write to my repository. So now I have a subfolder here called librarian, which is the name of the repository. And I can go to the librarian folder. And then I have all these files. They're exactly the same as in the web interface. There is also here some hidden files, named most importantly the .git folder, which is where Git stores its entire repository. So all the history, all the information about branches and stuff are stored inside this hidden folder called .git, which you more or less don't have to worry about, except not delete it. There are also two other files here. One of them is the git ignore file. So this is a convention in Git as well. If you have a file called .gitignore, then this file, as the name implies, tells Git which files to ignore. If I look at the content of this, then I can see that it should ignore everything in a folder called _site. It should ignore things in some certain Jekyll files. It should ignore the .dsstore file, which is just like the is a thumbnail index file that the Mac creates, just like thumbs.db on Windows machines, which you would probably also want to ignore. And so this is just a good way of telling Git that anything that matches these patterns, don't tell me about them, because I don't want those in my repository. The Git submodules or Git modules, I will have to silently ignore because this is...
Yes, let's not talk about submodules. They confuse even developers often. It's a repository in a repository.
So if I go to my Atom editor now, and I can see I want to open the folder, which is, where was it? Here I had a...
GitHub subdirectory, yeah.
So this is the librarian. And I can open that. Now I have the whole project here, and this is not very... I think we'll change the resolution of this. That's better. So here I can actually go into my librarian as coder folder where I have the markdown file. And now Atom is so friendly and actually does some syntax highlighting of the markdown code, so it's easier for me to read and find stuff. Let's just let's write some stuff in the first slide. And we can leave all the rest as it is for now. I can save this. Then I go back to my terminal. And I can use git status. And git status shows me all the things that are modified. In this case, it's only one file. If I want to see what I changed, I can use git diff, which shows me the difference between the previous version and my changed version. And in nice color coding even, it shows me here that in this file, librarian as coder, it has removed this line and added this line. And then it removed this whole part here and added this very simple text instead. So remember I will actually show this. If I go to GitHub Desktop, I can actually find the same project there. So now I'm viewing the exact same thing in GitHub Desktop. So here it shows me the change. And there's a little checkbox here at the left which tells where I can tell GitHub Desktop whether I want this file included in the next commit or not. So if we look at the git status again, we are still here. It says that this file is modified. And so if I want Git to include this, I have to tell it to add this to the next commit. So Git is very much about storytelling. I want to, not just make a lot of small changes. I actually want to make sure that the history of my project tells what kind of changes I made and why. That's why it's always a good idea to write a sensible commit message when you're writing a commit to say, hey, this was the change I did, this is the reason I did it. And you also want to have some control over what is included in this commit. So if you, for various reasons, made two totally unrelated changes, then you might want to commit one of them first with a commit message describing that, and then commit the rest afterwards. Right now I only did one change, so I can say I want to add this file, the librarian as coder MD file. And if I do a git status again, then now it's green because it is added and is ready to be committed. If I went to GitHub Desktop, and GitHub Desktop actually notices this. No? Ah, yes. So now it's actually set this checkbox. So this checkbox is the GitHub Desktop equivalent of adding the file. So if I went back to my my Atom editor and went into the index file, and here at the very bottom I by mistake put in some nonsense and save that. then GitHub Desktop will actually show me their changes in 2 files, in the librarian is coder file, which is the change we were already looking at, and in the index file where it says that
someone added some nonsense.
For some reason I added some my cat ran over the keyboard, which happens more often than not at home. So I probably, of course I want to go and change this file back again, but right now I just want to say I don't want it included in the commit, so I uncheck that. We can go back to terminal here, and so git status is your best friend. If in doubt, always do a git status. Now we can see here that the librarian is coder markdown file is added and ready to be committed, and the index.html file has a change that I don't want included, so that's red, and the other one is green. And they're mentioned in, and Git is very friendly here and even tells us that, if I actually wanted this file included, I would have to say git add file name to add that. If I want to discard the changes in that file, it even shows me the command for that. So in most cases, Git is actually very very friendly in this respect. Now, of course, I could go here and write a commit message.
But they've already done that today.
Or I can go to the terminal and say, I want to say git commit, which will open my favorite editor, VI, where I have to tell it that I actually want to insert something, and then I can say changed content of first slide.
Just to show off.
What did we actually change? We changed.
What did we change?
I said something about, yeah.
We changed it to greet DST4L.
So this is a very, very well-crafted description of the change that I'm trying to commit. And I can save that. And then we can see that it has now actually created a commit with one file change. It has 2 insertions and 2 deletions. These are counted in lines. So I actually took 2 lines out and added 2 other ones instead. Then I can use git log. Let's see, we just want to see the last one commit. So this is showing me the very top of the history. So I can see here that my commit has an author. The username that I have configured in Git is tempjkrag, and then the email address here. And then it has a timestamp, which is the exact time of this commit, and then the message. And then it has a unique ID here identifying this commit. If we go back to GitHub Desktop, we can now see that my branch now has this commit here. So this is the change content of first slide commit that I just created. And this is all fine and good, but we actually want to share this on GitHub. So, because otherwise the slideshow doesn't change. So we are still on the master branch. If I want to see which branch I'm on, I can use git branch, which will list all my branches with a nice little star in front of the one that I'm actually on. So the thing I want to do is I want to share. So I want to push the. Remember earlier today I talked about the post-it notes that that points to commits. So master is my post-it note. I want to tell the remote server, which is GitHub, that it should have the same view of where my post-it note is. So I want to push to the server called origin, which is the default name for the repository we've cloned from, and the thing that I want to share is the master branch. And then when I press enter, then it will ask for my username, which was this, and then it will ask for my password, which was, and then it says, hey, fine, that's okay. This user is actually authorized to send changes to this repository in GitHub. So it has done that, and it gives us some, slightly confusing messages about it. It's counting some objects that it needs to exchange with the other server, but that's all Git doing that stuff. We don't have to worry about that. And it says that all went well. I don't want Chrome, I want Safari. So if I go here to the repository again, then we can see that I have 13 commits. So all the ones below here are Lars's commits from when he was working on the slideshow, which I have inherited because I forked the whole repository. Some of them were Thierry making some changes. This was the change title commit that I did 10 minutes ago or something. And this is the commit that I have just pushed that I created on my local machine. I can press this little thing here and expand so I can read the full commit message. So it shows me the first line, and then I can read the rest of the essay describing my changes. I can click this. So this 62BF. We can see here should match this commit ID that we had locally. So it is the exact same commit that we have now published. If I actually click this, then GitHub will show me the changes in its nice view. So we can either show it in this way, where it shows the red lines are the ones that were taken out and the green ones were the ones that were added, or we can go in over here. There's a split screen view instead, where it looks like this. So depending on what kind of changes or what your preferences are, you can look at these changes in two different ways. And of course, the interesting thing is now, did this change go live?
It's almost 5.
So if I go to my website here and refresh,
hey,
then my change is live. So the time is now exactly very close to 5 o'clock.
Exactly, very close to 5.
There have been divergent opinions on whether we should end at 5 or 5:30. So I think we'll do both, which means that I will stop talking now, and we will still go around helping people that want to actually do this part themselves, unless I'm being overruled.
We can also have a Q&A session, if you want. Do you want to use my mic?
It's really now I'd use this. We are going to have pizzas at 5:30. We're going to go to the student union to eat those, and then we'll go from there to the science show. Hopefully a lot of you will join us. So until then, we sort of free play.
So that leaves about 27 minutes for hacking, and we will help while we pack up our stuff so that we're all ready to leave at 5:28.
I guess I also wanted to add that it's very hard. You learned a lot today, and it's hard to go back and use something like this in your work, right? We use email constantly, and it's hard to break out of that and use these kind of tools. So actually, one thing that I wanted to mention is there's a site called Programming Historian. It has some great tutorials on how to use GitHub. But the other thing is it's hard to implement this in your library when you get back, right? Like, you can be talking about this with your staff, and they're not going to have the same experience as you did. So, I think you kind of have to force yourself. I mean, at least in my case, I'm going to try and force our library, my staff, to try and use this for our reference guides. And, learn together. And just, like, I think some of the simple things you can do, some of the branching stuff was pretty advanced. So, I think in some ways just don't worry about sharing a master or something. Just try and use this, like, and accept that failure will happen at first in your workflows. But there's on Programming Historian, there's a tutorial on how to take another site and convert it into a GitHub site. That's one thing. And then it talks about versioning in GitHub, so your work in GitHub. So, I think when you leave here, like, commit to trying to use this for something. I think it's very easy to walk away and say, oh, that was a great tool. And I think, remember, that was one of the the first rule of data science. You get an understanding of what your researchers are doing. Your researchers are using GitHub out there for teaching. If you go out and search on GitHub, on Google for GitHub sites at your university, I guarantee you someone is using it for their classes. At least someone, but it's being used in a lot of classes, these days. So people are sharing material that way with their classes, and so I think one way I've seen classes, I've seen libraries teach. Like, one of the things the libraries have done is, let's teach software carpentry in our libraries, right? That's popular. But then the other side of it is there's only one person teaching it in the library. Your library staff is not really using it themselves. So I think that the idea is maybe eat our own dog food. At least in my case, I'm going to eat my own dog food and try to use this in our own workflows in the library staff. And so, like, more people in your staff are more familiar with it and can actually go out and do things with it. But you really have to make the time for it. And I think the thing I've heard, the hardest thing is your managers, giving you the time to do this, knowing that the project you're working on, you're learning as you go along, will ultimately help you later on, the library, moving forward in these kind of workflows. So I don't know if anyone has any questions, but that was something that happened on Twitter. Someone tweeted, GitHub is cool, but what's the catch? And I think towards the end of the day, you guys realized, it does take some time to really get used to it, right? That's the catch. You have to use it. And I think it's very easy to get back into your normal workflow and in the usual things that you use, and to break free of that. Oh, there, it's up there. Does anyone want to add to that? Can I throw this to them?
Yeah, we've got some time to discuss anything you really want to, questions or just discussing how you want to use things, right?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. I think we should clap. I think it's been an awesome day. For all of those who are eating the pizza, these two guys are coming along as well. So you have still the time to ask questions for them. But otherwise, it's Q&A now. And I think they can keep on because, you're on a roll as well. Yeah.
Quick follow-up to, am I on? Can you hear me? So follow up on that is that, yes, you will have to go practice this, but it doesn't have to be complicated. As we saw, the very, very low budget way of using Git is just ignoring all the actual Git history stuff. Just go to the web interface and edit files as if they were, just files. And then, yes, every time you save, you actually have to write a reason why you saved. That's a good habit, because then you can go back and find out, why did I actually change this? And apart from that, then, yeah, you suddenly have a online web editor where you can edit the websites and have them hosted for free. So I feel really bad for all these web hosts that try to entice you to pay 10 kroner a month to host a website with a small editor. You know, here we have it for perfectly free, and so go start there. You know, once you just get into that habit, then you will suddenly find out that now your page actually has 20 different files, and editing to them in the web interface is a bit annoying, and especially if you want to add pictures, and then maybe today is the day where I will sit down one evening and try to remember how to actually clone something locally and work on it in my Atom editor or whatever favorite editor you have.
Another way of approaching it, if you really want to simplify it, is you go to GitHub, you create a repository, and you don't put anything in it, and you only use it for issues and for planning out work and for assigning work and for working through, like Lars showed, a little Kanban board. You get that up and running. You put a waffle on top of that, and you just use it to organize your work. That's actually something that we also do if we're working for a customer and we don't actually have any code to share with them. We're just planning our work. It's like, oh yeah, we need to help them with that, and we need to go there and need to help them with that. We just create issues on it and we work the issues, but we're not writing any code for them, right? A repository doesn't need to contain any code. Just have your issues there. Plan your work there. If Git confuses you, just use GitHub. Just use the hub part. Right? Hub.com.
So
there's another tool called
the box. Oh! It's okay.
It was bound to happen. There's another tool called Gitter, Gitter, and in some ways, like issues, it's the same. You know, you can have these conversations, but what does that remind you of? You know, issues. It's like our reference requests. You know, there's tracking systems for that, and I think that that has promising thing in libraries as well, that we could use that for that kind of work. But that is in the open. And librarians value privacy, so that's.
You can always create a private repository.
You can create a private repository. And
then you can put a private waffle on top of it. Waffle is also free, by the way. Private GitHub repositories. If you want a quick line on pricing, on GitHub.com, the moment you pay for a plan, you get unlimited private repositories, but you pay per user. But there's also other platforms, very much like GitHub.com. That have unlimited private repositories for free, but they may not offer the same issues, stuff like that. But yeah, so.
But I want to ask, someone raise their hand.
You got to flip the box.
Yeah, who's going to try this when they get back? Yeah, all right. What are you going to try? Here.
What Thierry said, just trying to do structuring my work basically, because that's something that I'm really lacking in. I'm just using sticky notes right now in Windows,
exactly.
And it sucks.
Just have it on issues. They're exactly the same, except nicely.
Exactly.
But yeah, there's wide variations of what you can do. Like I had a talk with a nice gentleman, but he's already gone. But it's perfectly possible to set up, like I know last year you saw some Python, but it doesn't take much to learn just a bit of scripting. And it's perfectly possible to just have data automatically dumped into Markdown files and automatically committed to your GitHub branch. And just automatically, like, just have your website just dump data on it, and then you just have your data public. Like the possibilities are endless. Like you're developers, you can create anything. Software, you can do whatever you want, right?
Well, that website is run on GitHub. So the programming is starting on
I think we're nearing the point where there's less things that aren't run on GitHub than those that are.
And the DST4L website with the program for the last couple of days is also created as a GitHub website. So if you find a spelling mistake, just fork the project, fix the spelling mistake, send a pull request to Jeanette, and she will accept it. If you want to write a little write-up of what you learned, you can probably do that as well. And so this is a good, if you need something to practice on when you get home, then this would be a good use case.
And also very importantly, if you're struggling with anything, the thing that's really great about GitHub is its community and the resources around it. There's a lot of people out there who really, really like to help beginners or people who are just trying something out and stuff like that. It's a really great community. It is the open source community, right? So if you're struggling with, just find someone and ask them. You can go on plenty of resources. Just find them, right? You're going to show something? Oy, oy.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Okay. Git katas. I like those. They're like small exercises, but they're very, very terminal giddy. The nitty gritty giddy. So yeah, here's some examples, but these are actually sources for developers. But they're also very, very beginner friendly resources out there.
So, are there any closing questions? And to motivate you, you've had free access to nice stickers down here. But when I went through the box, I actually found two, of which I only have one single copy. One is the laser cannon Octocat, and the other one is the really cool robot one that I also have on my laptop. So.
These ultra rare, special GitHub stickers, right?
Ultra rare because they're only
one of a
just rare in
kind
our collection.
inside this room.
So two good questions.
Or just comments, right?
Yeah. Can you throw the questions? Anyone? Hands up.
It can be anything. It doesn't even have to be about.
I
GitHub,
want to be
right?
an instigator here, and I think Jeanette and Mikkel were talking about a community, building a community here to actually. I think one of the things you said is start off maybe cleaning up the website. You know, the working on the DST4 website.
I broke it now. Well, we were just talking in one of the breaks that, I mean, if we're going to start building something together, we could just as well start with the website, because it's done tomorrow afternoon. It's 5 o'clock. There's no more DSTL this year, so we can sort of improve it and we can sort of put extra things on it. The thing is, actually, we were planning on sort of scraping it all, so we sort of have it at an empty repository and put that up somewhere, so you can sort of use that as a repo. But now we know how to fork and branch and whatever, so we don't need that anymore. But I think we could build a community, and the thing is, there's sort of like a style sheet on top of it, like she managed, I didn't. The Jekyll, I couldn't install it, but never mind. But we have a Jekyll theme on this particular one, yeah. so you can just go in and have a look, and there's also, we have in the README file, we have actually described what we did. So it should be quite easy to go in, fork it, use it on your local repository. If you find any errors, like Jan said, then please put them to me and I will change them. But it could be a good start to start working with something together, even though it's an old thing tomorrow at 5:30.
What was the link to the repository? Where is it?
DSTL on GitHub. It's under my name, Jeanette. E, 2 N's, of course, and then it's big E. That's my repository, and then DST for L. So.
Oh.
There you go. The DST4L website.
Yeah.
All tucked away there in a little Git repository. You can just propose changes, create issues like, okay, hey guys, I found an issue. You don't even need to change anything, right? You just find an error, you just go to their issues and say, hey, you guys messed up here, and then you leave. It's also a contribution, right?
Yep.
You pointed something out. It's a contribution. And then they can work on that issue. Or you can also just
I own the robot now. The robot is mine.
Yes.
Right. The robot's been sold.
I'll give you that.
All right, we still got a laser cannon.
One more question for the student. How would the students use this?
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. We got Jekyll working as well.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and yeah. What about you?
Great experience. And I got it working as well.
At
least one of them.
Champions. Are you going to use it for anything outside of this wonderful little exercise? Or
Sure, why not?
Sure, why not, right? There you go.
How about for your website?
Yeah, that's a good idea for a CV.
Oh yeah, a hire me website.
I can assure you that if you...
I know Jekyll, and I can spin up websites on GitHub, like, right, looks good on your CV.
But I was wondering, like, if you do a page on GitHub, right? So what is the limit? Like, how much, say, you make something and it becomes really popular? So is there like a traffic limit, or do you need to upgrade at some point?
I mean, our company website is doing fine, and we have a massive website with lots of images and millions of people visit it. Not really, but I mean...
I don't know of any hard cap, at least. So
cool.
you would have to investigate that, or just hope for the best and wait for the angry email.
There's very big websites out there that are hosted on GitHub pages, and they perform just fine. Like the back end for GitHub, their server setup is pretty damn good, and I don't think there's any extra pricing when it comes to...
The important thing to notice here is that even though the stuff we're uploading might be a Jekyll project that is built by GitHub, when you upload it, it generates static HTML content. So the stuff that GitHub is serving are just static HTML pages, which cost just about nothing performance-wise, and can be cached and everything optimized. So I think you would have to really go overboard before they complain.
You can make really nice pages, but in the end it is static. So you're not going to be running like big web servers on here and a whole application. It's just going to be a website. You're just going to display stuff, right? So I mean, you have to go really hard to make that a pain for such a big server backend. So I don't think you'll get in trouble. Do whatever you want.
Cool, I will.
And I'm pretty sure that if the CVs you send to future employers are nice reveal slideshows instead of a printed PDF, then that will win you some bonus points.
That's my pricing. Thank you very much.
So, if any of you have more specific questions, feel free to grab us while we have a slice of pizza in the hand. I think we'll wrap it up for now, because we still have to, pack up our stuff.
I mean, we'll pack these later, so you still have a chance to get some cheat sheets and some stickers and whatever if you haven't already. But I think most of you plundered all the stickers you could get. So,
thank you for being a great audience, and.